Watercolor inks are my favorite medium to use. Their vibrancy, speed across the page, and opacity are truly beautiful and a pleasure to work with. Understanding the 3 different types of watercolor is really important, especially if you plan on selling your original artwork. So what even are the 3 types of liquid watercolor? We have our dye-based ink, we have our waterproof ink, and then we have our non-waterproof ink. And I'll go through the specifics of each kind. The first type of ink that we'll start with is dye-based ink. So Dr. P.H. Martin's has this line called Radiant Concentrated Watercolor Ink. It's beautiful, it's super fun to use, vibrant inks. But the thing with these inks is that they're fugitive, which means that when they're exposed to sunlight, they fade. So for that reason, they aren't great when using for original artwork that you're planning on selling. The purpose of these paints, they were really made for production artists, so cartoonists or illustrators that scan their artwork in and then mass produce it. If you're interested in learning more about fugitive watercolors, because that happens in inks as well as watercolors that you buy in a tube or a pan, look at the description in the details below, and I'll link to my blog post, which I talk all about fugitive watercolors. The second category of inks that we'll talk about is waterproof inks. So one of those is this India ink from Dr. P.H. Martin's, which is light proof, waterproof, and it's shellac and pigment based liquid. So this is available in a glass or plastic bottle, and you'll typically see a dropper attached to the top of it, so you'll be able to dose it out as needed. I would also put acrylic ink in this category, which is also waterproof. The difference between acrylic and India ink is just the binder that they use to keep the pigment kind of together with the liquid. Both are completely waterproof, so you can use them similarly to watercolor paints where you add water and paint on the page. They are non-reactive, so once they dry, you can paint over them and they won't lift or reactivate with any water that you place on top of them. So you can layer them underneath your watercolor paintings, kind of like an underpainting, or in techniques like glazing or layering. So in this second category of waterproof inks, there's also a type of ink called shellac-based ink. This is kind of oily when you look at it. It needs a thinner to thin it out and make it lighter in opacity. Something that limits me from using this paint, or I hesitate to use it because I haven't really found any information online as to if it's archival or not, if the colors will fade or not. So if you know anything, be sure to drop it into the comments. I'd love to hear. So the third type of inks is liquid watercolor. So this line from Dr. P.H. Martin's is Hydrus liquid watercolor, and it's a fantastic choice for artists who want to sell their paintings. It is non-fugitive and archival. It's important to note that it's not waterproof. So if you plan on glazing or putting a layer of it down first and then painting over it, it will reactivate. So it's important to kind of work quickly and just keep that in mind. For best results, try using the Bombay and Hydrus together by painting with the waterproof Bombay ink or India ink first, and then adding Hydrus on top. Don't forget to grab the freebie on watercolor supplies below and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks so much for watching.